Hey, second grade. Welcome back to Storytime with Miss Madison. Today we are going to be finishing our Walt Disney's Real Life Monsters book. And if you remember, we left off at the frilled lizard. So we are going to be starting with the chameleon today. So let's get started. The chameleon isn't very large, but to many insects, it looks like a real-life monster, if they see it in time. This chameleon had picked a shady spot on a tree branch. It clutched the branch with its feet and sat very still. Goofy rubbed his eyes and looked closer. The lizard's color had changed to match the color of the branch. The chameleon had almost completely disappeared, and inside the lizard's mouth its tongue was coiled up like a spring. And as soon as a tasty-looking insect landed nearby, out shot the chameleon's tongue, catching the insect on its sticky tip. The horned toad is not a toad. It is a lizard that lives in the desert. Horned toads are squat-shaped like toads, and they have horns on their head and spikes and warts all over their bodies. One of them puffed itself up to frighten Goofy away, and another one scurried away to hide itself under a rock. Sometimes, horned toads use a special trick when they are scared. They squirt what looks like blood from the corners of their eyes. To an enemy, this is very frightening. But horned toads are extremely harmless, except they like to eat insects. Most lizards, except the kimono dragon, have no large teeth or claws. But the Gila monster and the Mexican bearded lizard use poison to kill small animals they need for food. They are the only poisonous lizards in the whole world. But even they are not really monsters. They live in the desert and are very shy. Like most wild creatures, they look like brightly colored beaded bags. Look what Pluto found. The fringed toad lizard has sand shoes. It can skitter over loose sand, and when Pluto saw it, this harmless little lizard closed its nostrils and dove deep into the sand and swam, paddling with its feet and tail. "Sorry, Pluto, that's one trick you cannot learn," Mickey said, laughing. While Mickey and Goofy were outside their tent one hot afternoon, a friendly animal came to join them. It was a large green lizard with a long green tail. "That is an iguana," said Mickey. Iguanas often live in people's houses, and they eat up all the insects. Pretty handy to have around," said Goofy. Sea iguanas are much bigger than land iguanas. They live on islands far out at sea, and sometimes they are called sea lizards. They dive underwater and nibble on the seaweed. Hundreds of sea iguanas crowd together on rocky islands to bask in the sun and warm up after their swim. Geckos chirp up to each other in a friendly way, especially at night. They cling to the ceiling with special sticky pads on their toes. Goofy thought he'd like to run around upside down too. "Wow, I didn't realize that lizards could water ski," said Goofy. "And without a boat, too." A plumed basilisk had raised itself on its two hind legs and was dashing across the water. It didn't run very far. Soon it started to go under, and then it started to swim. "That is a great escape trick," said Mickey. There are no dragons or monsters among animals, but Mickey and Goofy found some giants. Pythons and boas are the giants of the snake world. If you could only get this python to stand up straight, it would measure the length of 4 Goofies lined up end to end. "I don't think I'll try it, though," thought Mickey. Some snakes kill by using poison. A python kills a rat or another small creature by wrapping its coils around the animal and squeezing it until it cannot breathe anymore. Most snakes don't care of their little ones, but python mothers and sometimes fathers coil around their eggs and stay nearby until the eggs hatch. After that, the babies take care of themselves. "That huge snake is a boa constrictor," said Mickey. "It is very, very, very large and long, but it won't hurt anybody unless it's hungry. This boa just had a meal. You can still see the bulge in its body." The boa is very sleepy and happy now, and it will rest quietly for about a week, and then watch out. Did you know that snakes can swallow animals bigger than their own mouths? Asked Mickey. Their jawbones have a special hinge that lets them open up their mouth very wide. The skin around the snake's throat stretches like a rubber band, and the snake can even swallow food without chewing. Have you ever seen a snake flick its tongue in and out? The snake is using its tongue as a special feeler to sense what is going on around it, and that is how it finds its food. Some snakes use poison to kill their food. The rattlesnake is a poisonous snake with a special trick. The buttons on the end of its tail make a strange rattling sound, which sometimes warns people and animals to stay away. But there are many snakes that do not harm, except to the insects and small animals that they like to eat. The king snake is a long snake, but it will not hurt you at all. This king snake helps keep poisonous rattlesnakes and rats and mice away from houses. Well, he's called a king snake, said Goofy, so don't you think he ought to have a crown? Why not? Replied Mickey, chuckling. He is my favorite snake. We can cross the river using these logs, said Mickey. Oh, I see a floating log in the water, said Goofy. I'll hop on it. And they looked closely into the water, and they saw 2 large eyes and a twitch of a long tail. And suddenly, a huge mouth full of sharp teeth opened wide. That log is an alligator. You! Shouted Goofy as he leaped quickly to the riverbank. That's the first time I ever saw a log with teeth. The crocodile looks very much like its cousin, the alligator. Both alligators and crocodiles are good mothers. The crocodile builds her nests and guards her eggs carefully. And when the hatchlings come out of their shell, the mother helps them out of the nest, and she carries her babies in her mouth and takes them to the water, and then stays around a few days and lets the babies ride on her back. Turtles move very, very slowly, but then wouldn't you if you had a heavy shell on your back and a hard covering underneath? The little box turtle drew its head and its legs and was completely gone, covered by its shell. Where has it gone? Asked Goofy. Turtles are usually harmless. Many turtles have long claws, but they will not hurt you. Only snapping turtles may be dangerous if you get close enough. Most seagoing turtles travel for thousands of miles around the ocean, but they have to come to shore to lay their eggs. The amazing thing is that they come to the same place year after year to lay their eggs in the place where they were born. The big mother turtle digs a hole in the sand where the eggs won't get covered by water, and then she goes back to sea. And when the babies hatch, they climb out of the nest and walk towards the water. It is difficult for them to walk on land because they use their flippers as legs, but they get into the water and then they swim off. What's the difference between a frog and a toad? Asked Goofy. A frog is usually more lively than a toad, Mickey said, so it leaps and goes plop into the pond before you can catch it. A toad spends more time away from the water. It moves slowly, and its skin has little raised spots called warts. You may often hear a frog long before you can spot them. Frogs chirp and titter and croak and make loud booming sounds, especially on the warm summer evenings. Bullfrogs have large sacs under their chin, and they blow up these sacs like balloons when they boom. The sound may attract other frogs, or it may warn them to keep away. And sometimes, perhaps, the frogs are just talking to each other. Most of the animals that Mickey and Goofy saw on their adventures lay leathery-skinned eggs on land, but frogs and toads have to find water when it's time to lay their eggs. Their babies, called tadpoles, must have water in which to grow. These can't be frog babies, said Goofy, staring at the wiggly creatures in the pond. Oh, yes, they are, said Mickey. They look strange now, with their big heads and long tails. But soon their tails will grow shorter, their legs will appear, and one day they'll find that they must come out of the water to breathe. Those funny-looking tadpoles will have made the most amazing change to a frog or a toad. Yo! Yelled Goofy when Mickey When Mickey and Goofy got home at last, Goofy wanted to know more about the creatures of the past. "But what kind of monster is this?" "Well," he said when he saw Mickey laughing, "I forgot, there's no such thing as a monster." "That's right, Goofy," said Mickey. "Monsters only live in storybooks, and most animals aren't even scary once you find out more about them. What adventures we've had getting to know them." All right, friends, that was the last half of Walt Disney's Real Life Monsters. I thought it was amazing to learn about all of the different reptiles, dinosaurs, lizards, snakes, turtles. So many cool things that we learned about. I really hope that you enjoyed reading this story, and if you did, leave me a comment down below and I can read other stuff like it. All right, you guys, I will see you in the next one.